Again. Already. I used to think history repeated in chapters. Different generations, different flags, different actors. Enough time in between that the scars became stories, names carved into stone, black and white documentaries. But now I'm watching those scars return. And before the ash could cool, a new fire burned. Same fear, new headline, same anger, new logo, same promise that this time the rules don't apply. Because our side is right, and their side is dangerous. We don't inherit mistakes anymore. We refresh them. We download them faster, argue them harder, forget them sooner. Every warning comes with a comment section. Every tragedy becomes a team selection. Everybody certain. Everybody informed. Everybody carrying a camera. Nobody seems to remember what happened the last time everybody was certain. Again. 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 Not someday. Not another generation. Again. Already. I put on Linkin Park's Hands Held High again. And that's the strange part. It doesn't sound old. It sounds like somebody left the television on for 20 years. Different president, different war, different screen in the living room. Same distance between the people making decisions and the people absorbing the consequences. Back then, we watched the nightly news and wondered what the hell the people in charge were doing. Now the news watches us back, knows what keeps us staring, knows what makes us angry, knows which sentence keeps our attention. We built machines capable of remembering everything, and somehow we became better at forgetting. Every atrocity documented, every speech archived, every prediction searchable, every contradiction sitting there with a timestamp attached. And still, someone stands behind a microphone and tells us this has never happened before. And millions of people believe them. Because remembering requires effort. Reacting only requires a signal. Again, again, again. The names change, the uniforms change, the hashtags change. Again. Already. Maybe that's what changed. History used to repeat because the people who remembered it died. Now history repeats while the witnesses are still alive. We were there. We watched the towers fall. We watched cities burn and markets collapse. We saw it all. We watched wars begin with certainty and end with questions. We watched fear become policy, watched policy become habit, watched emergencies become permanent furniture, watched people swear they would never let it happen again, then watched again as they let it walk through their front door. And somehow we didn't recognize it. Or maybe we did. Maybe recognition isn't enough. Maybe knowing history and learning from history were never the same thing. That's what scares me now. Not repetition, compression. The distance between mistakes is shrinking. We don't need 50 years anymore. Sometimes we don't need 5. Outrage, reaction, division, regret. Outrage, reaction, division, regret. Faster. Until regret disappears from the cycle completely. Because the next outrage arrives before reflection gets its turn. Maybe civilization doesn't lose its memory. Maybe memory just can't compete with acceleration. And everyone thinks they're resisting something. The left resisting the right resisting the left, the citizen resisting the government resisting disorder, the worker resisting the corporation resisting collapse. One country resisting another, one religion resisting another. One frightened person looking across an invisible line at another frightened person and calling them the enemy. Meanwhile, the machinery keeps moving. Not because someone secretly controls everything. That's almost comforting. The harder truth is that systems can move without anyone understanding the whole machine. Millions of reasonable decisions can still produce an unreasonable world. Everybody pulling one lever, nobody looking at the gears. Again, again, again. We know this one. We've seen this episode. We know how it ends. Again. Already. Maybe that's why that old song hits differently now. When you're young, a protest song sounds like a warning. When you're older, sometimes it sounds like an archive. You hear the anger you once agreed with and realize the argument survived longer than the event that created it. You hear someone begging people to notice and realize, we noticed. That's the worst part. We noticed. We marched. We argued. We voted. We posted. We promised. We remembered. For a while. Then the world moved on. Until the wheel came around again and somebody younger heard the same warning for the first time. So maybe the question isn't why history repeats itself. Maybe that's too easy. Maybe the question is, how many repetitions does intelligence require before recognition becomes behavior? How many wars before war stops looking new? How many crashes before prosperity remembers restraint? How many frightened populations before fear stops qualifying as leadership? How many enemies must we manufacture before we notice how quickly yesterday's monster becomes tomorrow's negotiating partner? How much information do we need before information becomes understanding? Because we have more memory than any civilization that has ever existed. More evidence, more access, more witnesses, more ways to look backward. And somehow, less distance between the same mistakes. Again, again, again. But now I remember the last time. And you remember the last time. And somewhere an old song is playing, telling us it remembers too. So don't tell me no one could have known. Don't tell me we've never been here. Don't tell me history repeats itself. History doesn't have to repeat anything. We do. Again. Already.